Standing here in front of the audience always makes me nervous. So, one other thing that he missed telling, which nobody will tell you in the introduction, is that I have three kids. Our daughter, she's 18, our son, who's 14, and we made sure that the COVID period does not go wasted. We have a kid who's 9 months old. So, two sons. So, one other thing that me and my wife, we always teach our kids, especially our sons, especially the one who's 14, is always to respect women. And just the other day before I came here, he says, Dad, you keep talking about respecting women. You keep talking about all these things wherever you go, and this is what you train women on. What's so great about respecting women? I mean, this is something that is inherent to us. Isn't this something that should come naturally to us? I didn't have the heart to tell him that there is something known as patriarchy, because I thought this is something, let him grow up and learn about this concept on his own. So I started telling him, see, unfortunately, respecting women in our country is the most difficult thing to do. Not just because there's patriarchy, it's also because of the society. And I'm here, standing here today, is because, not because, yeah, there's another term which he used. He says, Dad, my friend call you the, what's that word? The male feminist. I don't even know what that means. I had to tell him I stand wherever I stand is basically not because I'm a male or I'm a male feminist or just a feminist. I'm standing here in front of you all again today because I'm a father who cares for his children. When I was in the army, I served in the army 22 years. Naman just made a mention of that. The life was very easy. I was from the infantry. I was from the Kumaon Regiment. I did 4 tenures in J&K, did 2 tenures in Assam. Especially the tenures in J&K were the easiest. Now, that's not a paradox that I'm talking about. That is basically because you knew the enemy. The enemy wore a certain dress. The enemy had a certain weapon. And there was a line of control which I knew if he crosses this side, he dies. If I cross that side, I might die. But it was the bullets whizzing past which could either kill me or kill him. Of course, we made sure that, we did more damage. So the thing was, that's the easy part. Life in the army was easy. You're standing on the LC, then you get, the moment the firing starts or the artillery shelling starts, you get into your bunker. Once you're in the bunker in the evening and you're done for the day, you maybe have something to lift your spirits up, watch a little bit of TV, and as long as there is a bunker, I am going to be safe. It's only here in 2016 when I decided to take premature retirement and maybe dabble into politics or the corporate world. That is the time I realized there's no point fighting on the LC. Right? The real fighting is here on our streets. And that was basically because our children were not safe in the schools. The girls were not safe on the streets. I mean, as a father who had just, become a minister right after the army tenure, I thought I had already made it. I had arrived. It's only when my own daughter got stalked, that is the time I realized how unsafe the schools were. And these were the schools, these are the places where you send your children so that they can be safe. And they just turned out to be the most unsafe part, irrespective whether it was a boy or a girl. If it was a boy, there was bullying going on. If it was a girl, there was harassment, sexual harassment. And that is the time when me and another friend of mine, Raj, I wish she was here today, that we started doing a little bit of research to find out how is it possible that we, as a nation, that celebrates not one, but Navratras, twice in a year, sorry for sounding cliched, but we are the only nation that does not respect women. If I were to throw statistics at you all, most of you would not really know that ours is the country. In 2016, we had about 108 rapes happening in our country on a daily basis. We had about 33,000 cases of, all cases of crimes against women, less rape, on a daily basis. But the worst part is, these are the official statistics which are shown to the world. The actual statistics is into 5 times. So for every 5 rapes that happen in a country, only 1 gets reported or registered. That is how unsafe a country is when it comes to women. Fortunately, you all live in Mumbai, which is supposed to be a city which is very safe for women. I live in Dehradun, which is again a safe city. But what about the rest? Go to Delhi, go to Kanpur, go to Lucknow, go to Bihar, go to any other city, Chennai. Very unsafe. So parents started selecting cities based on the crime rate to send their daughters for their education. So which means education in our country for women is, as it is less, further got restricted by the barometer that says this city is safe for girls. And that is the time when somebody had to get up and do something. Either I could have been a couch activist, just thumping my chest every time a Nirbhaya case happens, or I could have gone ahead and done something. We decided to take action. Like I was mentioning, my time in the army was very easy. Where is your bunker? Where is your bunker when you can go down and probably have a tot of rum in the evening and say, okay, I'll live to fight another day, the way we did it in the army. Unfortunately, here you even might have to sleep with the enemy. Marital rapes is not considered crime in our country. Statistics further showed us that 95% of the time the perpetrator knew the victim. And who were these perpetrators? These perpetrators were uncles, neighbors, friends, brothers' friends, fathers' friends, business partners. Unfortunately, in certain cases, they were even biological fathers and brothers. Cousins, mamas, chachas. I went to this school in Bangalore and I spoke to some of the students. And I just asked them about safe touch and unsafe touch. Most of them thought the entire family was safe touch, not realizing those were the people who were the actual perpetrators. So now, something had to be done. Everybody said, oh, just because you're an army officer, you should just go out and start teaching self-defense. Maybe a karate, maybe a taekwondo, maybe a kung fu. So we said, no, we had to come up with a certain concept which we called FIST, that is fast, intensive street survival training. We had to teach kids to save themselves in the minimum amount of time. So that is the reason we said we will not do self-defense. We'll get into street survival, where you have practical threats thrown at you, and you should know how to get out of that situation. And that is how Mission Fight Back was born. We wanted the girls to fight back. We wanted to teach the girls that once you get married, marriages are big in our country, be it love marriage or arranged marriage. Everybody talks about the big shadi that happens. How many of us actually tell the girls what can happen after marriage? Domestic violence. Again, one of the countries which has got the maximum cases of domestic violence and child abuse. I don't think so any mother teaches the girl what should her reaction be in case if she gets the first thappad or the first slap. Because these are topics that we do not want to talk about. Exactly like the way that the government does not want to talk about the number of rapes in our country. So the best thing is brush things under the carpet. We did not want to brush things under the carpet. We wanted to bring it out to the fore so that we can start a debate. And what better way to start a debate and then subsequently action in case if we can actually have a citizens' movement against rapes and molestation. And this was an idea given to us by the citizens of this own country right after what happened to Nirbhaya on the 16th of December 2012. When the entire country, irrespective of the city, moved out supporting a girl who was fighting for her life. In support of that girl, they braved the police lathi charge, the water cannons, but they gave us a certain glimmer of hope that yes, citizens in this country can actually think and act for people or girls even unknown to them. That is how Mission Fight Back was born. That was the glimmer of hope that said, yes, we can start a citizens' movement. Based on this, in the last 4 years of our existence, we've already trained 12,000 girls. Out of these 12,000, we realized training these girls were easy because they had this inherent need to protect themselves. We've trained girls 6 years old, and the oldest was an IAS officer. She was 58 at the Uttarakhand Vidhan Sabha. The ferocity with which they fought, or the eagerness with which they wanted to learn to defend themselves, was heart-wrenching. Every girl had a story to tell us. Every school, every college, every workplace that we went to, it was an eye-opener for us. So the concept kept getting bigger and bigger. We started with street survival. Then we realized street survival is just one aspect. What about the psychological issues being faced by children? And believe me, there are plenty of them. And then we realized the perpetrator for these psychological issues are none other than, in most cases, the parents themselves. A loose talk, something randomly said to a child. What the child holds in her or his mind, you will not even get to know, because you just made a statement because you were probably irritated, or you had a bad day at work, or maybe you had a fight with the spouse, which actually comes out of the child. The impression that this child then further carries is something that you cannot fathom. So we had to do something about their psychological well-being. So we incorporated something known as the psychometric analysis test, and we got some of the best counselors that worked in different schools, and as psychologists, we got them together. We said, okay, can we do a psychometric analysis to understand what a child wants or the psychological issues being faced? Then we realized, oh, there's a third thing. That turned out to be cyberbullying. You know, I'm a 6-footer. I will never fight a man who's 6'1" or a 6'2". I will always fight somebody who's 5 and below. Why? Because that gives me the power over that person. There was a time when the 5-foot would just squirm, go back, and probably not take that road. Now what has started happening? They started fighting back through the cyber world. Girls against girls, young boys against the big boys. So we had to train them about cyber security and how to use the internet in a more responsible manner. We had cases after cases where a child gets bullied, goes back, morphs images, spreads it over the internet, starts a slandering campaign. Now, if a child at that age had to get into something as nefarious as this, that means we were channelizing the child's mind towards negativity. We had to get the child out. So we started something called the cyber responsibility sessions with the schools. When all of these things were done, we decided, or rather we started thinking, how do we take it up to the masses? So we made an app by the name of Mission Fight Back app. So basically the whole idea was, what if we go to a city which has got, let's say, a population of about 10 lakhs, out of which, let's say, the sex ratio is 1:1, so which means 5 lakh men are left out, 5 lakh women remained. Out of this, if we were to pick up girls from 14 years of age till 24, girls who are into institutions like schools and colleges, or maybe a little bit of workplaces or post-graduation courses, what if we train these girls? And we started training these girls in schools and colleges with the help of a certain state government that we are working with. The whole idea was that by the end of the year, we should have trained at least 2 lakh girls in a particular city. Now, once these 2 lakh girls were trained, the idea was to release an app free of cost to everybody in the state, every girl. So even if the girl was not trained by us, in case if she is moving from place A to place B and she finds any kind of a threat in place B, there would be at least 2.5 lakh girls trained by us in that particular city who would become an extension to the police force. Any girl who was 18 years and above would become our first responder. Something like what you have in the civil, something which is called the civil defense as it is. So which means citizens were as it is helping the government in cases of calamities and everything else. And one of the best example I can give you is that the civil defense worked fantastically well during the Chennai flood. We wanted to raise an army of young girls, young boys even, who felt responsible enough to respect women, not just their mothers and daughters, but every woman walking on the street, to ensure that the street remains safe for them. Now, what this app basically did was, in case a girl shouted, "Help, help, help," we would get her coordinates, we would get access to her mic, we would get access to her camera. So even if the phone was locked, we would get enough material to send our first responders along with the police. So even if the police did not reach on site, the first responders would reach them, not as vigilantes, not as lynch mobs, but basically shouting out the girl's name and containing the area so that the person cannot run away. And we did it fantastically well as a test case. And we realized that this was the deterrence that was required to put a mind. Once a particular government came in place, that is the only year in our country where the rapes actually dipped. And when their perpetrators realized that it was business as usual and none of the governments were applying to do anything, the rapes went up again. The only thing that came down was statistics because people stopped reporting. We've all gone through the COVID period, which was the lockdown period. The entire world has seen the number of rapes go up. And more than rapes for a change, the number of child abuse cases, domestic violence cases, the crimes against women has gone up. And that is the reason why I started today's talk by telling you, more than anything else, more than being an army officer or a left, right, and center that I've been in my life, today I stand in front of each one of you as a father who wanted to make the streets safe for the children, a father who did not want to perpetually live under the fear that tomorrow when my daughter has to go for a prom, my daughter's at prom right now, by the way. It's taken us half an hour just to decide her dress on the video. But today I know if my daughter goes for a prom, irrespective of the dress that she's wearing, she is capable of protecting herself. I fear for the boys right now because she's been trained. Why can't we make every girl in our house have the mission to fight back? But while we train the girls, how difficult is it for us to train our boys to start respecting women? You might not know, but the first lesson taught to any army officer when he joins the academy, irrespective of the National Defense Academy or the Indian Military Academy or the Officers Training Academy, is etiquettes and how to respect women. Even before they shear off our head and start make us do all the roles and all the funny things in the army, the first thing that is taught to us is respect women, because if you cannot respect women, there is no way that you can ever see progress in your life. And that is exactly what Mission Fight Back is. And the citizens of this country have already taught us that something like this, a concept involving the citizens, can actually be undertaken. So thank you all. Just keep these spirits high. Train your girls, train your boys, because that is the only way you'll ever get mental peace. Thank you so much.